Friends around the world. I'm just getting out of the shower. I haven't yet put my toupee on. No, I don't have a toupee. And haven't yet put any gel in my hair, and I haven't put my makeup on. No, I don't wear makeup. But anyway, I've been wanting to make this video, and I haven't had time about these fat-ass mother frickin' books. I just got in the mail the 600, wow, I can't say that. 666 page book, The Memoirs of Billy Shears, encoded by Harriet. Before I did videos on these two books, which is Billy's Back and Beatles Enlightenment, which Billy's Back is about half the size of the 666 page book. Whoa. The 666 page book, if you see here, Billy's Back is about half of it, the size. Billy's Back doesn't have page numbers, so I didn't know how many pages, so I'm guessing it's about 333 pages. And this book is about 1/4 the size of the big book. So I imagine the large book only has 1/4 more that these two books don't have. So I'm reading the whole big book now, and I just read the first 2 chapters. I'm going to try to make comments on each one as I go, but I've been so busy and I need to get dressed, and I have a concert today, so I'm gonna get dressed. I'm wearing my paisley shirt. Is it paisley? No, it's flowers. It looks like kind of hippie shirt today. So I'm going to talk about those books, but in the meantime, in between time, while I'm getting dressed, I'm going to talk about just life in general, like I always do, because I always like to go off on tangents, because I always use other excuses to make videos about what I really want to talk about, because I know you guys aren't ready to really hear what I'm really willing to talk about half the time, so I have to kind of stick it in between the stuff you think I'm really talking about. So pretend like this video is about those books, and I'm going to talk more about those books soon. But I'm putting on this cool flower shirt, and I'm going to put on my awesome corduroy pants I got from the thrift stores. Like I got this one. I'm trying not to show you my crotch, so I'm going to turn around. I'm going to put it under my towel, my pink towel, while I get my cool hippie pants on. Okay, so I made a video about these Dr. Bradley Nelson henchmen trying to go after me. How many other healing modalities are going to try to go after me? It's kind of funny. Look at my cool pink towel. It's what is it? Penguins? Yeah, penguins. Okay, so anyway, in order to keep the trolls at bay, I try to stick what I really want to say in between things. One of the guys I enjoyed reading back in the days, back in my so-called revolutionary days back in high school and elsewhere, was Noam Chomsky. And Noam Chomsky always tells you to read a New York Times article, if you want to read a New York Times article, from back to front. So always the last 4 or 5 paragraphs are actually what the author of the thing wanted to actually say, but he couldn't say because the editors would delete it. So they put it at the end to try to hope the editors were too tired or didn't feel like, after they read about 6 or 7 paragraphs, they'll finally go, okay, this guy's not putting anything revolutionary, and then they'll start putting what they really want to say. And I found that out in a few books too, because one of my mentors in life, Daisaku Ikeda, he recommended reading books by what was her name? She was a nurse in World War II. And I forget her name. I'm saying Joseph Chilton Pearce, which is a guy I also read after I read that book, because it turned me on to other doctors' points of views. He's not a doctor, but he's a psychologist or whatever. Anyway, I forget her name now. She did the book on death and dying. Her last book before she died, you got to read the last 2 chapters before you read the whole chapter. Because actually the last 2 chapters were what she really wanted to write the book about, but she didn't want anyone to freak out, so she put them at the end. And so by the time you got there, either you were so tired. I think I'm going to do that with my 3-volume book that I published as 3 books, and then I republished it as 1 book, which is probably as fat as this book. I don't even have a physical copy of that larger book that is online, called The Collected Writings for Soka University. But I was stupid. I put the first book, the most shocking, at the beginning, which I'm learning now after reading a lot of people's books, that you put the most shocking stuff at the end, because people are, by then, they either don't read it, or they got enough of your information that they're willing to actually open up to something that's beyond their reality. So in the last part of her book, she talks about channeling. And here she's been a nurse all her life in Western medicine, which Western medicine is a cult I call pharmacology. And she was trying to get people off pharmacology cult programming and drug rehabilitation, which is what it should be called. Get all the people off the pharmaceutical toxicological drugs that the doctors are putting them on, because the doctors are just selling for the major corporations that are just trying to keep everyone dumbed down. But anyway, her end of her book, she starts channeling, and they start doing all these things where they're conjuring up people, which is actually what they do in this book, which I'll get to when they get to that section where they did a seance and brought Paul McCartney back to life, so-called, if he really did die in 1966, which I still, after reading this, I'm leaning more towards this as faction or fiction or nonfiction. I don't know. But these three books are pretty amazing books, so I think you should read them, whether they're fiction or nonfiction. I don't fully know, but there's more facts in there than there are fallacies, so I would lean it more towards nonfiction, whether the whole narrative is true or not. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about also in this video, which I wanted to hide it in other things I talk about, is this idea of free choice. One of my songs is called Free Will. So if you have really free will, it isn't granted. It's self-granted. You grant it to yourself. So if you're willing to be, know, perceive, and receive, and create, claim, own, and acknowledge the infinite person you are from time without beginning, which we call the Buddha of time without, the Buddha of absolute freedom in Buddhism. Access consciousness calls it an infinite being. It's the same thing. Then if you have free choice, you can not only choose your past, you can choose your future. So one of the many characters I use in my healing modality is called Bajot Foch. He's my future perfect self. It's Bajot Foch, spelled B-J-O-T-T, which is an acronym. And then the second word is F-A-A-H-C, which is an acronym for Bodhisattva Jogyo of the 25th and a half century. And the 25th and a half century is he was born in 2424 AKR, which is after Kozen-Rufu, which is a creation, just like my body is a creation. This whole story, I was born as Timothy Giannakos, G-I-A-N-A-K-O-S. I later took on the name Timmy White when my mom was in hiding from my dad, who named me after Timothy Leary. And then we took on my stepdad's name, Van Kempen. But I'm neither Timothy Giannakos, I'm neither Timmy White, and I'm neither Tim Van Kempen, which I became in my high school days. And I'm neither Tim Giannakos, the singer-songwriter who will win many song competitions now and in the future, and will probably win many Grammys and Oscars and all kinds of other stuff, because I'm also an actor and a comedian. But I'm also creating a new story of the reality of the future, which is exactly what Shakyamuni did with all of his parables in the Lotus Sutra and all the other sutras. He created reality based on the stories that he created, and that's what all of life is. It's just a creation of stories. So you can create whatever you want in the future, so why can't you create who you were in the past? Okay, that just fried your brain. Okay, everything that is and everything that brings up times of Buddha's only, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate it all? So one day when I was doing what's kind of like past life regression therapy, my body said I was Sir Francis Bacon. I didn't even know who the fuck Sir Francis Bacon was at the time. Now, whether I was just creating that as my choice for my past life, I don't know. Or whether I was really him, I don't know. But there might be 7 other people who get, when they do past life regression, that they were Sir Francis Bacon too, because we are all infinite beings, so we can choose as many past lives as we want, and we can choose as many future lives as we want, or we can choose just to continue the ever-present now and never die and never be born, just like the historical Buddha said in the Nirvana Sutra in the 32 Negations, if we were willing to choose the infinite being we truly choose to be. Okay, so now that I gave that little segment of what the future teachings of Bajot Foch are from the year 2424 AKR, I'm going to go back to what you thought this video was about, which is this book. Okay. We're just giving you a little here and there hints into what else is possible. I got so far to page 40 on this new book, and it's a rereading of the first 2 chapters of the other book, which, if you want to only get the stuff that's palpable for common people, read Billy's back. It's probably 300 and something pages, and it's about, I think it was about $18 to $19. If you want to read the Buddha Beatles Enlightenment, I don't really recommend it because it's only 1/4 of this book, but it's almost the same price as this book. So you're gonna, or it's 1/2 of this book, which is 1/4 of this book. So you might as well just spend the money for the whole book. This is what I recommend. I didn't want to spend $40-something, but they put up a special for the anniversary of the death of John Lennon, I think it was, or they were supposed to do it for the anniversary of the death of James Paul McCartney on September 11th, 1966, but they did it. He didn't get the price in right at the right time because they just released a new 2016 version of this book, which is what I got in my hand. So they had it for something like $35. Originally it was $40-something. So if you bought these two books, you're only going to get 3/4 of this larger book, and you're going to spend I think it was $18 and $16 plus shipping and handling, which was a lot because I ship it from the U.S. to Japan, which is freaking an arm and a leg usually. But luckily, the shipping on Amazon is way more expensive than the shipping. They use some print-on-demand company to print this book, and I forget the name of the print-on-demand company. But it's worth. Now that I've read the other two excerpts from this, it's worth it to buy the whole Memoirs of Billy Shears, because the chapters that are missing are the chapters on Illuminati and the chapters on cult programming, which is every culture you're ever in, you're in a cult, because that's why it's spelled C-U-L-T, chur. Because if you read, now I just remember her name, Joseph Chilton Pearce. If you read Joseph Chilton Pearce, you'll realize that all cultures are cults. But Claire Prophet, no, that's not the one. That was the one lady who wrote. I have a couple of her books I got from the library, and then I had to buy another copy because it got lost. It seems like all my books from the libraries in Niigata get lost, and all my other books I read never get lost. So it's really weird. I've lost now 3 books. I've paid for two books, and one was her book. And why I can't remember her name? Why don't I just frickin' pull it up right now? I'm gonna do that real quick here. Okay, she wrote the book on death and dying. On Death and Dying. PDF. Oh, you can get it on PDF. Her name is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. That's who it is. It's all these hyphenated names that I can never remember. Like, I was thinking of the lady who wrote the books on Jesus 100 years before Jesus, or the Jesus you don't know because you thought that was the Jesus guy who rose from the dead, and that was a whole story thousands of years before Jesus was alive. So the real Jesus didn't do that. He went off in hiding, and they took him out of the caves he was supposed to have died in. They gave him the herbs that woke him up. And he is, I am he as you are me, and we are all together. So if you didn't know, I'm Jesus Christ. Now you know. Okay, so the first 2 chapters of this book, the Memoirs of Billy Shears, 666 pages book, talks about the dreams of Paul. And he had all these dreams about he was going to die and who was going to take his place. And he actually ran into the Billy Shears, according to this book, at a party, and it freaked him out because he looked just like in the dream he had. So that stopped him. He did a look-alike competition, and he didn't find anyone that looked like the guy in his dream until he ran into him at a party. And then after that, he never did another look-alike contest because that just freaked him out. It was too real. And someone asked me on my video, how do we know that this girl's name was Donna if she died in the car, and how do we know they were flirting with each other if they died in the car? Well, that was his dream before it happened. So if we believe that his dream was true, then we have to believe that the reality was true because it was just like his dream. So that's how we know the story that's weaved into this is more true than the real reality, because dreams are actually another phase of reality. And I do teach lucid dreaming, and if you learn to lucid dream and you learn to astral project, you will learn that this actual reality you think is real, which seems real. It's really hard, like my head. What's that? I love that from that British comedy I can't think of right now because I just hit my head too many times. Anyway, you probably know what I'm talking about. Inside joke, if you don't. Okay, so his dreams are what created the reality. And his dad knew that. His dad said, "Stop talking about your dreams. Your dreams are going to create your reality if you believe your dreams." So if you have good dreams and you want to believe your good dreams, but if you learn how to lucid dream, what it does is you can create the dream in the dream state, and then that will start showing up in your real life, because that's what actually the dreams are. They're a way to create reality in a sleeping state so that the waking state can actually be recreated as your dreams. But if you're just being in a comatose state and your dreams are just occurring to you and you're not having any control of them, then you're not going to have any control of your reality around you. You think you're going to be a victim constantly to this thing called reality. So that's what the first chapter is about. Although they talk about lucid dreaming a little bit, and they astral projection and stuff like that, but they don't really get into how you can control this waking reality, which is actually another phase of a dream because you think it's real. And then the second one is the first martyr was Stewart. Or Stewart was the first martyr, and Stewart died because he saved John Lennon from dying. So if he didn't save John Lennon from dying, the band would have never taken off, because would have never taken off. Is taken a word? I've been in Japan too long, I don't remember words. So if you get me on supposedly or supposedly, I don't know which one's real anymore. It's because I lived in Japan too long and I'm getting out of here. I'm not going to say try anymore, because try is the pretense that you will never do it. Okay, so in the second chapter, it talks about how John Lennon would always start fights in the pubs in Germany. He would say all kinds of racist shit and all kinds of inflammatory stuff, and then people start throwing stuff at him, and this guy came up on stage and he kicked him in the face and kicked him off the stage with his boots. They were called the Quarrymen, which was they looked like gangsters. They were wearing leather jackets and their hair slicked back like all the greasers back. If you watch the movie Grease, which I just watched actually the other day, because I have to play it for my college students. I teach music in college, English with music anyway, in Japan colleges. So they were greasers like that. So Stewart actually fought off the guy that would have killed John Lennon, and he ended up getting a brain hemorrhage and died a few days later from that kick in the head that he got in the place of Paul, who should have died. So somehow Stewart was the one who martyred himself. I think everything we do is a choice. Everything we think, everything we choose, everything we do is a choice, because we have free will. So that's a hard concept for a lot of people to understand who are choosing to be in a constant victim state of reality, because that's the dream that they're weaving, and they think they're a victim because that's what the dream, this reality, so-called reality, or this matrix field that looks real, is actually just here to prove our thoughts, feelings, and emotions are correct. So whatever you think, I think, therefore I am. Yes. I think I'm a piece of shit, therefore I am a piece of shit. I think I'm a great person, therefore I am a great person. I think I am poor, therefore I am poor. I think I am rich, therefore I am rich. So Think and Grow Rich, that's a book, but actually it's not really thinking. Thinking is the lowest frequency. If you check out Access Consciousness, which is one of my many healing modalities, which I may or may not be certified in this reality or another reality to teach, because this reality thinks I'm not certified, because it thinks I'm not an infinite being, so it's trying to shut me down, just like the cult of Dr. B is trying to shut me down. But anyway, no one can shut me down because I'm an infinite being. So what was I just getting off on a total tangent? So he saved his life. That was his choice. That was Stu's choice, to save the life of Paul and John. Actually, John. He saved the life of John so that I'm sorry, I said Stewart was the guy who saved the life of John. The other guy was the bass player. I forget his name. Okay, so I'm terrible with names because I've known all these people in many lifetimes. I've lived a bazillion. If you take dust particle kulpa and you times it, or you take it to the nth factor, that's what a Buddhazillion is, and I've lived a Buddhazillion lifetimes, so longer than even the Expedient Means chapter talks about when Shakyamuni first attained enlightenment, because I am Shakyamuni, as I am Jesus, as I am Nichiren, as I am Daisaku Ikeda, as I am Dr. Bradley Nelson, as I am Dane Here, as I am Paul McCartney, as I am Stuart, what was his name? Cliff? Something Cliff? Anyway, I am that I am. That's all that I am. I'm Papa the Sailor Man. Okay, so the next chapter is Paul worked it out in the song. We can work it out. Life is very short, and there's no time for fussing and fighting, my friends. That chapter is about Paul working it out because he was trying to work it out. He's just if you don't go my way, it's gonna fuck it all up. So he was trying to get his replacement and do everything, line everything up before he died, and he died exactly like his dream. So that's why we know how he died. We don't know it because we didn't see it, because we listened to his dreams. Okay, so that's all that I'm going to talk to you about on this one. I'm going to come back to you with much more, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in, and plus the subscribe down there if you want more crazy videos and you want more of a reality twisting, mind bending fork in the road from your pathetic pisswat life you're choosing. I don't even know what pisswat mean, but that's what the founder of Access Consciousness says. So since I'm him and you are me and I am you and we are all together like John Lennon said, and I am John Lennon, then maybe pisswat is an actual word. Okay, thank you very much.